You're good to go, Mr. Chair.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for your attendance at this specially called July meeting, July 2023. We usually don't have a meeting in July, so I want to thank you for your attendance. And I'm going to get right into the agenda. Introductions, announcements, and a review of the 2023 agenda. Any changes to the agenda? If so, please speak up.
Not seeing any recommendations for changes to the agenda.
So we can move right along. I don't need a motion, right?
That's correct.
And I just lost everything here. Let's move on to the previous meeting then. Any changes, edits?
Not seeing any hands raised for edits to the June 2023 business meeting minutes.
Move accept the minutes as
A
written.
roll call vote on this.
Did somebody speak up there? Hold on.
I move the agenda be accepted, the minutes be accepted.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Shelley. No opposition, so moved.
Well, we need a roll. Unfortunately, we need a roll call vote. So do you want me to call the roll, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please, Jared.
All right. Bill Amaru,
Yes.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Khalil Bogdan,
Yes.
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Kelly Edmondson.
Yes.
Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you, Jared. Moving along. Well, once again, I want to thank commission members for their participation and remind them that I'm going to limit discussion to action items only today. We want to move right through on this meeting because there are some members who have already made plans for the day. So discussion only on action items today. Thank you very much. And I'll roll this over to law enforcement. I presume that's Lieutenant Bass.
I do not see anyone from law enforcement on today.
Yeah, neither do I. Thank you. Director McKiernan, you're up.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Since our last meeting, we've been working with the administration to get final approval on the regulations that you approved back in May. And one of our action items today is related to that. That is the summer flounder trip limits. These are the first regulations that we've enacted under the new administration. And as expected, there were some delays as the administration's team is getting up to speed on all that DMF does, our processes, as well as the role of the commission. And we don't expect there to be similar delays moving forward. But I think this being the first package that the new administration has had to confront, and admittedly, there was some really complex items in that package. There's been a delay. So anyway, but we did file them last Friday, and they will go into effect 2 Fridays later, which is the following Friday, not this Friday, but the following. DMF has completed 2 grant programs. I will mention that the DMF news came out last week, and I hope you have a chance to read that. Just to summarize, we did complete 2 grant programs. The first was 20 grants were awarded to various businesses involving the commercial fishing industry. These awards went to seafood marketing companies, some fishing advocacy groups, fishing researchers, vessel owners, and many of them to aquaculture operations to improve their efficiency and their productivity. The 20 awards range from $25,000 to the ceiling, which was $100,000. It was a $1.6 million program. It was started under the previous administration and completed under this one. The sea herring federal disaster payments were also completed to vessel owners and wholesale dealers. And that was pretty successful. If there's any news that going on the waterfront this year, it has to be about menhaden. We had an unfortunate fish kill in the Salem Harbor area about a month ago when one of the active vessels, one of the seiners, their net parted, and as a result, it resulted in some fish escaping the net and showing up on the shore dead. I know the operator felt really bad about it. It got some press in the news, but the Salem officials were pretty calm about it, and I think Mother Nature took its course, and the fish wound up being taken out on the outgoing tides. But menhaden have been more scarce than in the past years. Last year at this time, we had already reached a 5 million pound quota, and this year we're only at 1 million, and we're seeing similar trends in Maine. And if you look at the historical record, menhaden does have a quirky history of being super abundant one year and not so abundant in the following year. That has nothing to do with abundance per se, but it has to do with availability. And so we're not sure where the schools are, but we know that they're not in their usual places up inside the harbors like they have been in the recent past. Couple of other things, the commission's permitting working group. It used to be called a subcommittee. We've been advised by general counsel to refer to these as working groups. Will be reconvened in early August. Story is going to reach out to the members, shortly to find an appropriate date and time. I'm hoping to meet with the Legislative Coastal Caucus as early as next week to present the report on the derelict fishing gear, the same report that you as a commission received last meeting by Bob Glenn, which was really well done. We're going to shop that same presentation to the legislature to see if we can get their support for the necessary legislative changes. And then finally, DMF is being awarded a Partners in Conservation Award by NOAA Fisheries for its right whale conservation program. This being the 50th anniversary of the enactment of the Endangered Species Act. They are recognizing Mass DMF and I would say by extension this commission for its really effective regulatory scheme and conservation program. So that ceremony is scheduled for July 25th at 4 p.m. at the State House. Any commission member is welcome to attend. It is open to the public. It's in one of the public meeting rooms at the State House. And if you would like more details or you'd like to attend, let us know and we can make sure you get all the information you need on that. So that's all I have, Ray. I'll take any questions before we move on.
Questions for the director?
Not seeing any hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jared. I see law enforcement. Officer Baker, have you any comments? Chris Baker? Well, I guess we'll move on, Jared, on the
Okay.
action. On the action items. Recreation.
Yes, let me take that one, Ray. I'll kick it off. I believe, yep, Mike Armstrong's with us this morning. So this is the necessary last step of filing an emergency regulation. Just to refresh the commission, we as a DMF and as director, we don't have the authority to enact a regulation that is permanent by emergency. When we have such an emergency, there is statutory authority that we can use to enact a rule for up to 90 days. And in order to become a permanent reg, surviving the 90 days, the commission needs to take a vote within that 90-day period. And so that's the vote that you're taking today. It is that which we've already presented to you at the May meeting. You remember Mike Armstrong gave a great presentation, and I see he's got one of the slides up now. This is an action that every state on the striped bass board from North Carolina to Maine has complied with in terms of their of adopting this just 3-inch slot, as well as doing it in advance of the deadline of early July. So Mike Armstrong, I'm going to let you fill in any details you think you want to impress upon the commission.
Thanks, Dan. Well, I don't know what else to add. We've been through this quite a bit. We have gotten a lot of buy-in from recreational anglers. The pushback has been from the charter folks. But your average angler has, at least from what we hear, has really embraced it. And we're a catch and release state compared to Jersey and few of the other southern states. So we assume it'd be more acceptable to our anglers up here. And in fact, it's proven that it has been. There's been some further analysis looking at how much we're actually protecting. And Nick, you might have to help me. I don't have it in front of me. But we are protecting 55% of the year class right now. And so I don't know what the predictions on the reduction harvest, but it's significant. It's certainly double-digit protection. So while we got it in a little bit later than we wanted to, and particularly Jersey, they'll have it in now, but just barely under the gun of July 2nd. So we didn't protect them as much as we wanted, but we are doing substantial protection. And, we'll go from there. The PDT, of which Nicola is part of, is working hard on crafting things for us to look at the next board meeting in August. And there were many options on the table, and it's all about making sure F stays at the target, a rebuilding F, so that we can continue rebuilding. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Dr. Armstrong?
I'm not seeing any hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Commission members, I need a motion.
Jared, do you have a motion slide?
Is
There you
that
go.
not shared?
Yep, there it is.
Reduce the striped bass maximum size from less than 35 to less than 31, resulting in a recreational slot limit of 28 inches to less than 31 inches. That's the motion.
Khalil here, I move that we accept the motion as presented.
Thank you, Khalil. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bill. And any opposition to the motion?
It needs to be a roll call vote.
Okay, Jared, do you think?
Bill Amaru,
Yes, but I do want to mention something under the discussion aspect of this, that I've heard from a lot of people, not to contradict what Mike just said about buy-in, that they feel that there's a higher rate of mortality than ever before with the number of fish that are being caught and released. A lot of the young fishermen who have come into the industry as recreational in the last 4 or 5 years, COVID, a tremendous number of boats have been added to the fleet down here on the Cape. A lot of them, unfortunately, are not well versed in the proper handling of these fish. So there is some concern, and it comes not just from fishermen, but from retired executives of the Division of Marine Fisheries and other people that I've spoken to. That's my only comment, but I'm not going to oppose the motion. So I vote yes.
Yeah, I'll second that, Bill. I've heard the same thing down here.
Ray, do you want to see if there's any more discussion before we move for a vote?
Yeah. Sorry about that, Bill. Any more discussion on this?
Khalil?
Yes,
Oh, you had your hand raised. I wanted to know if there was discussion. Okay, I'm not seeing any more discussion. We'll move for the vote now, Mr. Chair. Bill
Thank
Amaru,
you, Jared.
Yes.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Khalil Bogdan,
yes,
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Shelley Edmondson,
Yes.
Tim Brady.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's move it along. In-season adjustment to decrease the horseshoe crab trip limit. We all got Dan's.
Yep. So Ray, I'll just sum this up. As I mentioned earlier, that the industry always gets the last play, and we were surprised to see this year's harvest was as rapid as it was, not only before the spawning season, but also during the spawning season, where our landings are well advanced in terms of the utilization of that bait quota than ever before. And this comes in a year that we've taken this action to lower the bait quota from 165 to 140,000. And so it's a little challenging, because what we don't want is the otter trawl fleet to be endlessly discarding crabs while they're fluke fishing. So we've talked to the industry, and we've made numerous phone calls to the participants, and we're making this recommendation based on a 2-week comment period to lower that 300 crab limit down to 200 to sort of stretch this quota out to minimize regulatory discards. So that is our recommendation today. It would also lower the trip limit for those who don't hold the limited entry permit, which is set at 75 crabs down to 50 crabs.
Okay, so let's have the discussion before, while we should formally make a motion and then open it to the floor for discussion. So would somebody please make the motion?
Khalil?
I want to make a comment. I would like someone else.
Well, let's get the motion on the floor first. So, Leo, are you gonna?
Understood, Mr. Chairman. I thought you were calling for discussion. I'm sorry.
So I need somebody to make the motion to get it on the floor so we can have a discussion.
Motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Bill. Need a second?
Khalil, here, second.
Thank you, Khalil. All right, I'll open it up to discussion. You see, Khalil, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question for the director. How many boats or trawlers are we talking about? Number one, what are the number of trawlers that are involved? And also, I'm curious as to the number of hand harvesters that are in the industry.
Well, let me take this second one first. We have hundreds of limited entry horseshoe crab permit holders. Most of them are not active. And so, but if you're asking how many were active in this past season, like this spawning season, I'm guessing it might be a couple of dozen. Is Story or Jared, do you guys have a handle on the number of participants?
Generally have about 20 to 25.
Yeah.
In the
But-
hand harvest fleet, and then, a dozen to 20 in the dragger fleet.
And what about active vessels for this summer? I think that's Khalil's essential question.
Active
Like how many?
dragger this summer, I'm guessing there's about 12 to 15.
Okay.
Based on my interactions with the fleet.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. One last question, because I don't want to belabor this, because you know my feeling on horseshoe crab. I'm curious, how much does a person get, a picker get, or per crab? What is the price that?
Yeah, I think we presented that at the last meeting. It's around $2.50 or $3. So Story or Anna, do you guys have a number from past years or even this year to demonstrate value?
If you give me a minute, I can get that. I'm currently locked out of all my files.
Yeah, that was in the public hearing presentation. If you give me a second, I can pull that one up.
While you're doing that, okay, I promise this will be the last thing. If that's the case, we had this the number of crabs that showed up dead on the beaches, and we're presuming they came from an excess of crabs more than that were needed for the bait. And there's got to be some kind of a value lost, not only ecologically but monetarily, with those dead crabs. And Is there a value to those dead crabs if you want to put a dollar value to them?
Well, I think the answer will be whatever the staff come up with, multiply whatever that number was that we found dead, something like 1,200 crabs, times, let's say it's $3 on the higher end, so it's it would be something in the realm of $5,000, I guess. But the value of that species, like any seafood product, is what the market will pay for it. And in times of gluts, the market can get depressed, and that happens in every species that we manage. This particular year was a strange one because, as I mentioned before, the industry gets the last play. We put the first ever biomedical quota together that'll be in effect this year, and the reaction by one of the companies was to buy crabs under the bait quota, with the expectation they would, I guess, put them into frozen storage. But because this was kind of a first ever maneuver, I think there was maybe they had overestimated the demand. And so for a while, we did get reports that the price was depressed because of the intense landings of bait crabs during that the early part of that season. So as you know, as we've described in past memos and presentations, the demand for this organism as bait comes from the whelk fishery, the whelk pot fishery primarily, and the whelk pot fishery has more activity in the second half of the year, September, October, November, and in fact, even in July and early August, when we believe the animals, especially the females, are spawning, they don't pot as well. So many whelk potters will bring their gear, won't tend the gear as often, or some will bring it home during the summer doldrums. And so, well, as part of what we want to talk about for next year, I think we need to do our best to time or to amend the rules to allow the harvest to be timed appropriately for the demand. Now, it's easy to freeze these crabs and use them as frozen product. But that comes at a cost too. So if you're freezing a crab for weeks to months, that's not free. So whatever company is doing that, has to bear the cost of frozen storage. So it's a work in progress. Does that help, Khalil?
Yeah, it does. And it's a complicated issue, and I really don't want to drag it out. But, where DMF considers the channel whelk depleted throughout the range in the Commonwealth waters, and that they're being overfished and overfishing is occurring, I think we need to take a real close look as to the viability of this fishery, commercial fishery. We're trying to supply bait to a depleted resource, and now the potters are pulling their pots because of the summertime or whatever it is. I think personally using bait. I think the whelk fishery needs to come up with an alternative. It's just for another discussion. They need to come up with an alternative to horseshoe crabs for bait. I mean, it's depleted. That we have modified our regulations, and to me, it just doesn't make sense to kill horseshoe crabs for bait. But that's a whole nother story. But I thank you for letting me say that. And then I would like this on record. And I said it earlier. I really think everybody needs to take a look at Eli Lilly and recombinant factor C, RFC, and it says as a viable substitute for LAL. I think I'd like this in the minutes. I think everybody needs to take a close look at that. Just get
Thank you, Khalil, but
I understand. Look, Raymond, Mr. Chairman, just let me.
Thank you, Khalil. We're trying to stay. This is
but I'd like that in the minutes. Thank you.
Once again, we need a motion, and I see hands going up. This is an in-season adjustment to decrease the horseshoe crab limit.
We have them.
And we will discuss horseshoe crabs this coming fall and winter. DMF is gonna have that. I'm sure they'll have public hearings on it, but this is an action item that is limited, it's direct. So Bill Amaru, I saw your hand up.
I'm lowering my hand.
Thank you, Bill. So discussion on this action item, in-season adjustment to decrease the horseshoe crab trip limit. Any further discussion?
I'm not seeing any hands raised. We can move this to a roll call vote.
Thank you, Jared. Will somebody make the motion, please?
We have a motion on the board from Bill,
Board.
seconded by Khalil.
Thank you.
So calling the motion to vote, Bill Amaru,
As in the past, on issues dealing with horseshoe crabs, I abstain.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Khalil Bogdan,
Yes,
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Shelley Edmondson,
Yes.
Tim Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with one abstention.
Thank you, commission members. Coming back to the agenda, I believe in-season adjustment to increase summer flounder commercial trip limit. Is that right?
We have smooth dogfish next, then summer flounder.
I'm sorry. In-season adjustment to increase smooth dogfish trip limits.
Raymond, this is an interesting one. It came to our attention at our public hearing up in Gloucester when one of the participating dragoman in the fluke and horseshoe crab fishery brought to our attention that there's a species that is caught as bycatch in the trawl fishery, which is the smooth dogfish, separate from the spiny dogfish. We have a rather modest quota of just 17,000 pounds, but with a 100 pound limit that predates the quotas. We really aren't utilizing that quota very well. And he reported to us that if we increase the trip limit up to 300 pounds, he thought that would accommodate his the levels of bycatch that he sees on a regular basis. And so anyway, we came away from that and we investigated what the options were. Nicola Meserve worked on that with the ASMFC Coastal Sharks Board. Greg Scommel is also part of the, I believe he's on the technical committee. And our proposed increase in this season, which would be an in-season adjustment from 100 to 300, was blessed by both of those. And if need be, we could go to public hearing for next year to make this kind of a permanent reg change, which is, I think, is appropriate. But for today, we'd like the commission to approve this modest in-season adjustment. We did take this out to a public comment period. And I believe that public comment period is through today, Jared?
It concluded on Friday.
Yeah.
We received a small amount of public comments, and most of which were in favor of it.
Right. All right. So that's our proposal, Raymond.
Okay, well, let's make it a motion so we can open it up to discussion. Would somebody please make the motion?
Bill Amaru? You have your hand raised? Bill, you're muted.
My apologies. I'll make the motion and I have a comment after the motion is on the floor.
Thank you, Bill. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Shelley. And I saw Melanie Griffin's hand up earlier. Melanie, have you something you wanted to say?
No, Ray, I'm not aware of my hand up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've got the motion on the floor. I'll open it to discussion. Bill?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to see this increase, and I want to let the commission know and anyone else who's listening that over the 50 years that I've fished in Nantucket Sound in the spring and early summer, There's more dogfish, a smooth variety than I've ever seen before in large size and various sizes all through the growth range of the animals. So it's a timely and good limit that we put in. I have some dogfish belly fillets in my refrigerator that are going to go on the grill tonight. They're good eating. So I'm very much in favor of this. And like with so many other resources in Nantucket Sound, including horseshoe crabs, the numbers are good, increasing and stable. And I'm encouraging everyone to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Discussion?
Not seeing any further hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Let's vote on it.
All right.
Is there any opposite, roll call, right? Jared?
Yeah, Bill Amaru,
Yes.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Khalil Bogdan,
Yes.
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Shelley Edmondson,
Yes.
Tim Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, members. Moving on, Jared. In-season adjustment to increase summer flounder trip limits. Who's gonna handle this,
Yep.
Dan?
Let me just give you a little bit of background and Jared can fill in the rest. This particular action we initiated a few weeks ago when our rulemaking appeared to be kind of stalled, and we really felt frustrated, and we felt bad for the commercial fishermen who, were aware that we had increased the trip limits this year, but the year was quickly going away, and they didn't have the benefits of the increased trip limit. So we decided we would use the same mechanism that we just used, the same legal mechanism, to do an in-season adjustment to basically do what we did back in May to raise these trip limits. So the vote that I'm asking you to take right now is identical to the vote that took place back in May because of the administrative delays. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we finally did get approval last Friday, 3 days ago, to enact the regulations, which means that a week from Friday, these new trip limits would go into effect. If you vote this up now, as of tomorrow, the fleet will be able to take advantage of that. And this is because there's always another 14-day delay from the day you file a regulation, when you file it on a filing deadline every 2 weeks, to when it's published 14 days later. So by voting this up today, you'll be giving the trawlers who are fishing in Nantucket Sound and the hook fishermen as well, the extra 100 pounds for an additional 10 days that they otherwise wouldn't have. As I mentioned earlier, I do not expect this to be a recurring problem. The administration, I think, now is up and running, and they'll be able to deal with our rulemaking in a more timely way.
Okay, I see Bill Amaru's hand is up. We need the motion on the floor before discussion. Bill, do you want to make this?
Yes. I'll move the motion.
Thank you very much, Bill. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Shelley. Opening it up to discussion. This is a discussion on this motion.
Bill Amaru?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Another excellent move by the department, and I'm very happy to hear that it'll take place immediately, because the boats that are fishing in the Sound are doing very well. This is a robust resource, a resource that we need to take advantage of. It's a very small fleet that gets to take the advantage of the increase, but nevertheless, it'll mean a lot. That's a considerable amount of additional income. If any one of us were salaried and we had an increase of 1/6, we would be ecstatic about it, and that's how these guys are feeling. So I'm very pleased that it's taking place and it will be implemented quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other comments before we vote?
Not seeing any further hands raised. I'll call the roll.
Thank you, Jared.
Bill Amaru,
Yes.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Khalil Bogdan,
Yes.
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Shelley Edmondson,
yes,
Tim Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair. I'll pull the agenda back up.
Thank you. Thank you, commission members. I presume we're moving on to this letter to Secretary Rebecca Pepper. Is that on the agenda?
Actually, next, Ray, is the Belding Award.
Oh, I'm sorry, Belding
okay.
Award.
So to the commission members, there's a nice memo in your package from Jeff Kennedy, and in the back, it lists the Belding recipients going back to 1990. So it is an award that we'd like to give out annually. Sometimes, other things get in the way, but I'd like to get us back on track with that. And I want the commission to feel part of this whole process and be able to make, nominations, whether it be for this year or future year. So I'd really appreciate if you folks, would be more involved. I do have a nomination that came from staff for our 2023 award, and you received that memo written by Jeff Kennedy on behalf of Mike Hickey, who passed about a month ago. We went to his funeral, and it was quite a sobering day for a lot of us. Anyway, if there aren't any other nominations that a commission member wants to bring forward, then I would ask that the commission consider voting Mike Hickey that for 2023. And I'll just open up the floor for a discussion at this time, I guess. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, well, just a discussion on Dan's suggestion. Everybody knew Mike Hickey, and I presume you're going to present the award to his family.
Yeah, I think we would schedule it for an in-person commission meeting. And, my vision would be to have his 3 survivors, his wife and his 2 sons, participate if possible. Especially, well, I know there's one son who's a prominent member of the Department of Public Health. He's a really great colleague that we work with, Eric Hickey. And then he has a son who's a rear admiral in the U.S. Coast Guard, and of course his widow is living back in Taunton or Raynham. Anyway, they'd be local, and so we'd love to have them all join if possible. And we would schedule the award at a time that would be convenient for them, if they'd like to attend. So that would be my expectation.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I'm not hearing any opposition from any of the commission members, so Leo?
Yes, I just want to say, I thought the testimony that was written about Mike was awesome. It was great to see everything that he did, and also who Dr. Belding was. And I thought the memo nominating Mike was extremely well done.
I'll pass that along to Jeff. So Ray, if you'd like to accept a motion, or I guess, is this, Jared, since this isn't a regulatory action item, do we still need a roll call?
We should do it as a roll call.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll make the motion. Am I allowed to make the motion as chair, Dan, or can somebody else make the motion? Leo, your hand is still up.
Leo?
What was the question? You want me to make the motion?
Yes.
Please.
Please, I move that we accept the nomination as presented.
Thank you, Khalil. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, I'll
And
call the roll. Bill Amaru,
Yes.
Bill Doyle,
Yes.
Will Bogdan,
Yes,
Lou Williams,
Yes.
Shelley Edmondson,
yes,
Tim Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously to present the 2023 Belding Award to Mike Hickey.
Thank you, commission members. I know this will mean a lot to his family. All right, Raymond, back to you for the MFSC letter to Secretary Tepper on law enforcement.
Okay, well, you just read it off the agenda. Marine Fish Advisory Commission letter to Secretary Tepper on law enforcement. I'm sure everybody reviewed the letter. It was in your package.
Great. At this
Discussion.
point, I'd be looking for discussion or any proposed amendments or changes to the letter. Otherwise, I can finalize that letter and have it sent to the appropriate channels to the secretary.
Thank you, Jared. So I'll open it up to discussion. Or does anybody want to make edits or?
I'm not seeing any hands raised, Mr. Chair. Would you like to move for a motion, or would you just like to do this by unanimous consent?
Yeah, let's do it by unanimous consent. We seem to get one of these letters in annually, so hopefully the new administration will respond as the previous administration has.
Ray,
I'm
I
not-
know the rank and file environmental police officers really do appreciate these kinds of letters to demonstrating our collective support for their organization.
All right, I'm not seeing any objections to this, Mr. Chair. I will send this letter, finalize this letter and send it through the appropriate channels and send the final letter to all of the members of the commission as well.
Thank you, Jared. I guess we can move on to other business now. Leo, comments?
I'm all set, Mr. Director, Chairman, I mean, I'm all set.
Thank you, Khalil. Bill Amaru.
Thank you, Ray. All set.
Thank you, Bill. Shelley Edmondson.
Thanks, Ray. I just wanted to mention that out here on the vineyard, we're having a working waterfront celebration, our Meet the Fleet on August 3rd. And I just wanted to invite everyone to come out and see our fisheries out here.
Good to hear. I believe we've got well, I think that's a Friday night, Kelly.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. Okay, thank you for that. So commission members, Shelley Edmondson's invited you to the island of the Martha's Vineyard. I presume Shelley will be able to pitch tents or something for people to dwell in.
Of course.
Thank you, Shelley. Let's move on to Bill Doyle.
I'm all set, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou Williams.
Yeah, all set, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. And Tim Brady. Tim?
I'm good, Ray. Thank you.
Tim. Thank you. And I'll close it out before I go to the public, thanking the participation of the commission members at this unusual July Marine Fish Advisory Commission meeting. So let's open it up to the public. Jared?
If any members of the public have any comments, questions to voice, please raise your hand and you can be recognized. Brett Hoffmeister, you gotta mute yourself.
Brett, you're recognized.
Brett, it looks like you're still muted.
There you go.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Brett. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to thank the commission as always for their hard work. And my only comment is regarding comments around the RFC. I just want to remind the commission that RFC is a product. It's not really a platform. It's a product that's used. It's already able to be used by the FDA and whatnot. And I would suggest that the commission not take a position on any particular product. I think it's inappropriate, given the public health requirements for these things to be used. And it's out there, it's being used, and I question the I guess, the ability for the commission to make any particular recommendations on one product over another. You know, the FDA and Pharmacopoeia are looking at this. They've been looking at it for 20 years, and we hired these people to do that job. And I think it's best left to those folks who have the expertise in that field. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. And as I stated earlier, we will be discussing this whole horseshoe crab FMP this coming winter. Thank you very much for your comment. Anyone else, Jared? Bill Amaru, your hand's up.
Yes, thank you very much, Ray. I'm sorry to poke in at the late hour. The question is this, though. There are fishermen out today fluke fishing. Does this vote take effect immediately that we just did for increasing the quota?
Will go into effect tomorrow, Bill.
Tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'll pass that along.
Thank you for the question, Bill. Comments from the public? Jared, anybody else?
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I didn't realize we were
Oh,
commenting.
good
on
morning,
this.
Beth.
Good morning, Ray. How are you?
Fine.
I apologize. I thought we were just taking general comments. I'll wait till the end.
Oh, we are, Beth. That's
Oh,
it.
all right.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to let the commission know that on September 16th, the Marshfield Lobster Fest is happening, and this is the 4th year that it will be held. And over the past 4 years, it has grown. And I think last year they had over 7,000 people come through. And I wondered if it would be possible, I can share the link in the chat or with Jared, and he can send it to the commission. If it would be possible to have the state there, as it is gaining such great public interest. And I just really feel that it's a good platform to get our educational information out there on all seafood.
Beth, if you want to send me the information on that, I'll make sure the commission members get it.
Okay, great. And then I just had a question for Dan, and I was wondering if the state has had any more time to look at the recent ruling in DC regarding the ongoing litigation regarding the biological opinion for the right whale, and if the state's attorneys have had more time. I know our attorneys are still looking through it, and I've been, talking to members across the region. And just, some people think that it's just going to abolish a lot of the right whale conservation that's been in place. But I'm wondering if the state has any more information, and possibly if we could maybe do some type of informational type of notice to industry that it's status quo right now. And I just don't want anyone to be misinformed.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Beth. So obviously you've got your ear closer to the ground relative to your constituents. And so I will have that conversation with our attorneys and with the Attorney General's office to sort of get their take on it. But if you think it would be, warranted or useful for us to put out some kind of a statement on that, I'd be certainly willing to do that. I don't believe that any of the rules that are in effect are at risk, but I didn't go to law school. So, and I know how complicated this is. So,
exactly.
That's a great question. And, I'll certainly work on that on your behalf, and I'll reach out to you directly on that.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Beth. Comments from the public? Questions?
I'm not seeing any further hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Well, there's no one out in the public that wants to comment or question. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Khalil. Seconded by
Tim Brady.
Tim Brady. Thank you, Tim. I
Not
don't
seeing any objection.
No opposition. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.